Welcome. I'm Carl Frederick, and I will be interviewing individuals for Kenosha Voices, an oral history project of the Kenosha County Historical Society in conjunction with Kenosha Community Media. I have worked in newspapers for more than 40 years as an editor and a reporter. 38 and a half of those years were at the Kenosha News. I am also a member of the Kenosha County Historical Society Board. We hope you enjoy these programs. I'm speaking with the Frate brothers, Tony, David, and John, grandsons of the founder of Model Market, the neighborhood grocery store that was known for many, many decades. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you for having us, Carl.
Tell me, when did your family come to Kenosha?
So I'll start us off. So our grandfather and grandmother came to Kenosha in 1920, when they originally eloped, coming from the upper Michigan. They eloped here and they started a new life.
Well, when did your grandfather come into this country?
So our grandfather came at age 16 on the USS America, coming from the area of Lucca, Italy, in 1912.
Okay. All right, and where did he go once he came into the country?
So in and around Hancock, Michigan, he lived with his sister, Katrina, and Catalina, and Peter Guidotti, her husband, Peter Guidotti.
Okay, and was this a boarding house or just a house? Where did he?
So they were running a boarding house, and they boarded miners from the copper mines in Michigan, in the area, and that's where he was living.
Okay, and where did he meet your grandmother?
So she also was at the boarding house. She was working there with her mother as a seamstress, laundry, and general housekeeping.
Okay, and did they have a liking for each other, or what happened in between him coming to Michigan and then coming to Kenosha?
So in my grandmother's own words, we had it on tape that she took a liking to him almost immediately. He was a handsome young man, and he was several years older than she was. She was only 16, but she liked him right away.
Okay, and then World War I was involved?
So yes, World War I was in full swing, and he joined the U.S. Army. He was sent off to France to fight in the Argonne Forest, and specifically that was one of the turning points of the war. That was the final initiative that ended the war.
Okay.
And so he right out of boot camp, he went right into one of the final battles of the World War I.
And when he came back, where did he go?
He went back to Michigan, and he was part of the Teamsters, and he was delivering beer at that point. But he didn't want to work in the mines. He understood that it was not healthy. It was a bad environment, and so most everyone else was working in the mines, and he was trying to avoid that best as he could.
Okay, and when did they decide to come to Kenosha, and why Kenosha?
So his sister was married to the Guidottis, Peter Guidotti, and they had already come to Kenosha and started a grocery store, and so he was fresh out of the war. He needed a new occupation, and he had a love interest of our grandmother Amelia. Unfortunately, her parents had a disliking for him. We don't know exactly why, and it may have been because he was too good for the mines, and that's what they had known in that community, and maybe it was something different. But so they decided to elope and come to Kenosha to start a new life. In fact, it's kind of a funny story. The sense of eloping is to to run away to get married, and they actually, in my grandma's words, they took a taxi to a bus station, and they took a bus to a different community to get on the train to come to Kenosha, even though they could have just jumped on the train right there, but they were trying to hide their tracks a little bit.
Okay, and so your grandfather's name?
Nello.
Giovanni, Eugenio, Guglielmo, Del Frate.
Guglielmo Del Frate, yes.
All right, so he was able to get into the grocery business right away.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And did he work with his brother-in-law?
So it was going to be a partnership of 4 people. So Peter Guidotti, Nello Del Frate, Enrico Del Frate, and Luigi Del Frate.
Louis.
Okay, and they were all going to run a grocery store, or did they have more than one?
That's how it started. They started off with the currently what we would know as the model market. That was the flagship store, and then eventually, as the partnership grew, they acquired 3 additional storefronts: Independent, Roosevelt, and Lincoln Foods.
Lincoln? Okay.
So as the partnership grew, and they decided to liquidate the partnership, and each partner got their own store.
Nello getting which one?
The model market.
Okay. And what year was that?
46.
No. Yes, 1946.
1946.
1946.
Okay.
Early February.
Okay, so what was different about Model Market from other independent neighborhood grocery stores, at least initially?
Well, at the time, every ethnic group had their own grocery, bakery, tavern, and so forth. And so there were any number of different ethnic stores. Ours was located in a predominantly Italian populated area. Over the years, and at that time there was like 250
And
back in
what was the
1940.
address?
Pardon?
The address?
The address 2327 54th Street,
Okay, and there were 250 grocery stores in the
throughout the
community?
city, according to the.
And how many in the Columbus Park
There
neighborhood
had to be
around where your
4 or
store?
5, at least a handful,
Within a couple block area.
Okay.
within a couple blocks. The Mount Carmel area, referred to as the West Side.
Okay,
Back to what you asked, what made it different. We catered to the community, to the local neighborhoods, to our whatever. You buy what sells. And one of the products that we made that had established a good following was our Italian sausage, and which we'd make weekly, and we eventually grew into a wholesale distribution of that product.
what made your Italian sausage different from others? Because I assume these other Italian stores.
Ours was good.
It was good.
It was lean, it was grilled well, it didn't spark fires, and so it was-
The funny thing is, sausage is pretty simple. Italian sausage, salt, pepper, and fennel, main ingredients. But it's in the proportion. We had what they call a sweet and a hot. And for whatever reason, ours took favor, and by comparison, we became successful making it.
Okay. At the time of the model market in 46, 40, whatever, those years, how did people usually shop for groceries?
There were no supermarkets, so they would go to the nearest local grocery, either transportation or just proximity. I think my brother referred to it earlier as the first self-service. If you could picture an old country grocery or country store, you'd walk in with a list, and the grocer would fill your order, and you'd pay for it. In this case, these were aisles with shelves, and customers would use a basket or a cart and fill the baskets, and then proceed to be checked out, and paid for their.
So they do it themselves as opposed to someone filling the order, bringing it to the counter, checking you out and sending you on your way.
Right, and once again, this is way before the inception of grocery stores or chain groceries and so forth.
Okay. Anything else that was innovative or happened at this local grocery as compared to maybe others?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, at one time there was like 250, and we had to evolve to survive. So I mean, part of our customer base, we would always try to grow, and our sources of procuring quantities or wholesale purchases and or distribution. So that helped us grow or continue to succeed or stay in business.
How was meat sold?
Well, one of my early recollections, they used to sell beef by the by the quarter, a front or a hind quarter, and literally they would come in and throw it on the block. We would break it and hang it in the cooler and sold on demand. It was rather expensive. I'm sure that you may or may not have seen a counter display of a stack of sirloin, T-bone, porterhouse, and so forth. So it was pretty much cut on demand, which eventually, I mean, that's where you get the dry age. And we took home a lot of the butcher steaks or the brown ones at the end of the week to feed our family. Anyways, it used to come not on the hoof, but on the hook, and just cut and sold per order. And it later evolved into packaging, where you could buy a case of any one cut and so forth, and it was vacuum sealed. And then at that time, you could open a small package, slice it, and put it on display.
Okay. Was this something different?
That was a revolution in the meat industry.
Okay.
Right here in Kenosha.
Here in
beef.
Kenosha, Charlie Vigneri of Kenosha Beef was an innovator, changed the industry completely. Instead of buying a 100 to 200 pound piece of beef, you could buy it by the case of any select cut that you wanted.
Okay. And did each of you work at the grocery store?
Well,
Oh, yeah.
that goes way back. Every single
Well, why don't we
every
have
single
each of you-
family member.
Okay,
had
each
a-
of
had
you
a
can
hand,
tell me
had a chance.
what you did.
I didn't
how
say
long
choice.
you did it, or not. What you
To
did,
work.
what different jobs you had during your course of working there. So, Tony, would you
Well,
tell me?
I'm of the 8 children, there was 5 boys. I was the eldest. I started out. My dad would drop me off at Mount Carmel or St. Anthony School. None of my other brothers and sisters went there, so I could come to work. So from an early age, I was starting out doing things like sweeping floors, bagging groceries, sometimes delivering, stocking shelves, helping customers package produce or other things. Making sure the candy counter was neat and not overstocked.
Okay, then you grew into other jobs. What other jobs did you have during the course of working at the store?
We ultimately, we used to do home delivery of the local neighbors and so forth, and then we started doing other deliveries. We got into the institutional distribution of, we got into wholesale through pizzerias, starting with our sausage, cheese, the tomato products, pepperoni, the cardboards, you name it. So then delivering and so forth. As we expanded, we added a warehouse, and we would have any number of semi deliveries a day, and we started putting up orders to deliver to local restaurants throughout Kenosha and Racine. So we got in on the boom of the pizza boom, and there were mostly mom and pop pizzerias that helped us establish and grow.
Okay, so what was the last job you held at Model Market?
I was ultimately the last family member, the 3rd generation family owner.
Okay. David, what did you do at the store?
Well, commonly summers I would work general purpose support, cleaning, delivery. I grew into a bookkeeping role. I was adept with technology, so computerized records, some vendor ordering, supplies ordering, stuff like that.
John?
So I, much like everyone else, we all started, sweeping floors, stocking shelves,
Cleaning.
Grandma D was strict. Yeah, Mrs. D or Grandma D or Amelia. She went by many names, many hats. But yeah, cleaning was top priority. But I moved as I grew older and more physically able, helping out in the warehouse.
Sausage making.
Sausage making. I spent hours and hours making thousands and thousands of pounds of Italian sausage. But the warehouse, keeping things in order and putting orders together, emptying semis.
Okay.
Filling our own trucks for delivery.
Yeah, filling our own trucks for deliveries off into the
How far did
restaurants.
you deliver?
Pretty far. I mean,
As far as Burlington, North Racine, we couldn't cross the border with our
Licensure.
meat products due to licensing, which we ultimately did become a state licensed food processing facility.
That's a little bit outside your neighborhood.
yeah, yeah. The model market grew quite a bit.
So, and then generally in the neighborhood, I mean, if you have 4 or 5 grocery stores within a certain number of blocks, how did you all survive, and who were each other's customers? How did that play out? How did you know who was who?
So, in the era, most people didn't have cars, and definitely didn't have 2. So everyone was walking distance to whatever you needed, whether it was the bakery, whether it was Cardinale's bakery around the corner, or the model market, or any of the other grocery stores. So I would imagine that was the biggest decision maker on where you shopped. But it was also the value. It was also the family atmosphere. It was the salesmanship and the customer service that would bring people coming back.
Okay, and you mentioned evolving to survive. How big was the model market in 1946, and then how did it change over time?
Originally, the the footprint was 60 by 100 for the storefront, which was about 1/3 of that, and then the warehouse, the back room where stock was kept and so forth, and there were 4 apartments upstairs. As we grew, we had expanded. We remodeled several times. We took out walls, moved entrances, took over basements, put in conveyors downstairs, upstairs. We built coolers and freezers in all corners and so forth. We ultimately needed more space and access for truck deliveries. We bought 2 houses, leveled them both, made a parking lot, and created our first addition, which gave us a truck, a semi-dock. And again, we had walk-in coolers and freezers upstairs and down. And then we later made another addition just to add on a second loading or unloading spot. And ultimately from 6,000 it went to about 10,000 square feet.
Okay, and as you talk about deliveries and semis and conveyor belts, and how did these things come down into your store or warehouse, and how did you then place them where you wanted to?
We modified the building in numerous ways. We would cut a hole in the floor and move a stairway, putting doors over, broke through a basement to combine 2 basements. They were like 2 separate basements.
But originally everything was hand moved. And so you take it off the truck.
Stairs up or stairs down. The building would never qualify for ADA because we had stairs in the front, stairs in the back, stairs on the side, basement access, and so forth.
Okay.
So then after the evolution with the loading dock, a semi could just back right up and unload pallets at a time. You could put
Instead
it anywhere
of by
in
the case.
Yeah, all hand done. You could push a whole pallet of cheese right into the cooler. You didn't have to touch it. So that the efficiency of that helped immensely.
Okay, and did you share any of your basement space with anybody at any time?
At one time, as I said, there were residents, 4 apartments upstairs, and when I say combining basements, there was a separate half of the building that had another outside access. One was for laundry for the tenants above, and then there was a room where we had compressors and so forth, but we had rented it out to storage for a number of businesses that, once again, it was just a rented space in the basement until we decided we needed the space more, and we created access.
Okay. How many employees did you have or normally have?
It was a busy, thriving business. We would have 200, 300, 400 customers a day. As far as employees, whatever shifts and so forth, other than some who were day crew and stay crew, including cleanups. But at a peak of payroll, we probably had 16 employees.
Okay. And did it change seasonally at all, that you have more employees at a certain time?
One thing we hadn't brought up was we started doing deer processing early on, and that grew into quite an operation. We would start doing, deer season is only 9 days in November, which happens to be right around Thanksgiving, which was a busy time for holiday, food and so forth. And then the deers were dropped off, and we had expanded that operation to process at our peak close to 1,000 deer per season, or 1,000 orders. And one of the biggest things was our expert meat cutting, but also our sausage that we would offer made with venison, breakfast, bratwurst, kielbasa, Italian, and summer sausage.
All
smoked
from deer?
summer
Or
From
just
deer meat, yes.
Okay.
venison.
And who did this processing?
Well, all of the family, all hands on.
All hands.
And once again, it was Mom and Dad's anniversary that week, it was Thanksgiving, and it was deer season primarily. I mean, endless hours, just,
So the number of employees would swell into the 40, 50 employees for that
because
couple
we
weeks.
would run 2 to 3 shifts of deer processing. Once again, some people were day crew and stay crew. There were 3 shifts come and go.
Okay. What did it cost to process a deer when you first started doing it?
Well, it goes way back. I remember as low as $15 to skin, cut, and wrap and make hamburger, not sausage.
Okay,
It was
what year
extra.
might that have been?
In the early 70s.
Okay. And when you stopped deer processing, what were you charging to process?
Less, maybe $49, and other places that would do it just seasonally, or some would just do processing of deer, were closer to 100. And today, I would guess that you couldn't get that same skin, cut, wrap, and hamburger for less than probably $100 to $150.
Okay. How big was your meat case?
Well,
At
through the
one time,
evolution.
at one time, before we knocked out walls, we had about 12 feet of meat case. That's the display that you would cut, and we would. It wasn't self-serve. We would wrap and package. It grew to about 30 feet. We had bought equipment from other stores, and some big chain stores. Literally, they would have 10-door freezer doors. 20-foot meat cases. So we put together a 20 and a 10. We knocked out a wall, took out an office, and expanded that meat department.
It sounds like you guys did a lot of construction work.
At young ages. At young ages.
Okay.
Our
Can
father
you
was.
describe some of the manual labor outside of the grocery business that you were involved in?
I remember building a freezer. Me and a bunch of friends, we were going to go fishing well, the fishing was bad, so we ended up walking through town to get to the model market, hoping to score a ride home. And as my father was rolling in that morning, it's probably 6:30 in the morning, and he says, boys, you got anything going on today? And no, we were just going to go fishing. He says, well, after I feed you, do you think you want to do some work? And we all said, heck yeah. So we tore down a garage to start with, and we were probably 12 years old at the time, 12, 13 years old. And so demolition, he gave us some work gloves and some tools, and we tore down a whole garage to make room for an expanded
New garage.
new garage. And then later on, working alongside one of the tenants that lived upstairs, building a cooler from scratch. And this gentleman didn't speak much English. He came from Italy, and so I learned a lot about communicating with people through more than just your spoken language. And I learned a lot about construction. So it was kind of fun with that.
Anybody else?
Other duties outside? Gee.
Oh.
Construction work.
We had an addition in the our family home. There was a crawl space, and
Family was still growing.
Yeah, I was just coming around at that point.
yeah, and so my dad said, we're going to take this crawl space, maybe 3 feet, concrete bottom, and break up the concrete, dig out from underneath, and make it a full height basement area.
Instead of building up, you were big on building down.
Yeah,
to
It was,
make a-
exactly.
it was in the basement, there was
Yeah.
this crawl space, so a 4-foot high cement wall and about a 3-foot space underneath the family room. Can I give you?
Well, look, so we dug on the outside of the foundation, cut through the foundation wall, started filling buckets with
5-gallon pails.
Yeah, of the
By
of
hand.
the clay and the broken concrete, and then finished it.
How big a room would you say? It's at least this big.
20 by 20.
A 20 by 20,
About that.
4-foot by 20 by 20, a hole in the foundation wall that would be just enough to hand up a 5-gallon pail, hand it up, and dump it on the driveway.
Teenage kids, conducted by
Many hands
by
made
Ronald. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Did you have any projects like that when you were young?
We built a carriage house.
Carriage house.
My dad, we had a recreation area, our backyard, there was 8 kids, and a lot of other kids would come around. But Dad he'd built monkey bars, a seesaw, a swing set. He put in a trampoline, and it was a great idea. He dug a hole like you would for a pool, put a frame around it, and then it wasn't off the ground, it was flush
Level.
with the ground. So you'd bounce, going into it, and you could literally see the heads bobbing above a 6-foot fence. And then we had a merry-go-round, which kept breaking because we had so many kids on it, just like the one out at Pets that you spin it around and kids are flying up. We would make trips to Caledonia. There's a tractor dealer there because we needed to buy new axles for this carriage, for the merry-go-round. So Dad had a lot of ideas, and he wouldn't say why not. He wouldn't say why, but why not? And just do it. He would say, we're going to do this. And what? He had a lot of great ideas. Sometimes, people would say he flew by the seat of his pants. But many of those endeavors were, besides interesting, innovative, creative, fun, not many people would think of it or go through with it.
Okay. Going back to the origin and the development of the business, how long did your grandfather own Model Market?
John?
So when he came to Kenosha in 1920, and then he was in partnership until 1946 with the Guidotti and his brothers, and then became the sole proprietor after that. Unfortunately, he died within a year after getting the store all to himself. In preparation for a grand opening of the new store, it was going to be a giveaway. He was going to have butter that he was going to give away to the new customers. But unfortunately, he had to go to Iowa to go get it. And there was a great big storm, and there was a car accident. He went off the road.
Snowstorm.
Did I say
Storm.
storm? A snowstorm. Went off the road. The car was stuck. The police came to call a tow truck, but there wasn't enough room in the police car for all the people.
Right.
So they sent my grandmother and her young daughter, infant daughter, with the police off to safety, and the two men stayed with the car waiting for the tow truck. Unfortunately, there was such a bad storm that a big snowplow came, didn't see the car, and it got pushed off into the ditch, and where they suffocated and froze to death.
Covered with snow.
Covered with snow and
And
froze to
then
death.
who took over the business?
So my grandmother, Amelia, she was a homemaker. She had no business experience, but she had fortitude, and she had the will to go forward. And so she ran the business all by herself for a good number of years until 71.
So from the 40s, she had 5 children at the time. The store had been closed for remodeling, so it was empty, and she kept it going all those years.
Okay, and then your father, his name was
Ronald.
Okay, when did he assume control of the business or work in the business?
That's 1971. Amelia split the business into, among all the siblings, the 5 siblings, and Ronald bought out the other siblings to obtain sole proprietorship.
And that was in
Automobile.
71?
Yes,
Okay, and how long did he run the business?
till 1999.
1999.
Yeah.
And then,
I took over. I was the 3rd generation, last family owner of the business. The family estate retained ownership of the building. There had been other grocers that went in there, tenants and so forth, and one exercised an option to purchase in around 2020, and within a year or a year later, there was a fire and the place burned.
okay, so you ran the business until,
2006.
and then that was the end of the family involvement in the grocery business.
That is correct.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about what your father did during the time that he ran the business. What kind of ideas did he have from a grocery standpoint or a stocking
Neighborhood.
standpoint? What kind of things was in his head?
He had a camera shop in the back, and he used to do portraits. He was a member of the Kenosha
Camera Club.
Camera Club, and we were all movie stars. We all starred in home movies, but pretty professional level. He'd had little billboards, little clay letters, production by Ron Dell, that was his nickname, for introduction, and there were props. There was an old television set, the old console, which we had up on another box, and the back was off, the tube was out, and we'd be inside doing commercials. We also starred in other home movies, a production that one of them involved all of us kids, those that were around at the time.
Pet Show.
That was before me.
And me.
We did a pet show. My aunt was a nun, and we went at St. Anthony's on a weekend or Sunday while they were closed, and so she was operating a class, and then each of us picked a pet that we brought, like a show and tell, and that was one of any number of home movies and so forth. But the back room, as I said, it was a camera shop. I think before that, my dad used to repair. He and his brother used to repair televisions and radios. He had the old vacuum tubes, and they would test and repair things like that. I remember they said he built a crystal radio. Later on, we converted that room into the deer processing room. We had gotten to the point where we needed additional space, that we couldn't just cut up the deer after hours. We needed to make it a daytime production. And then that later, it also served as a sausage room, which we later built on an addition and made a larger refrigerated processing room as well. What other things? Too many to mention. I can't.
Innovate and
Anybody?
adapt. That's what
Yeah.
Ron did. Was he built out the business into what we know in our lifetimes, with his sausage making, the sausage recipe, making that commercially available to restaurants, and
Wholesale.
the wholesale market. He scouted the Midwest and Wisconsin specifically for a cheese label to make a to
Private
obtain,
label,
obtain
mozzarella.
obtain a private label for mozzarella. Tomato products. He scouted vendors in
California.
Yep, and
Buy truckloads of tomato products, mushrooms, olives.
And then you
Hormel.
bring all that in, and then you make it
Distribute.
into something.
Also
Or
Distribute it to
Okay.
local
Restaurants and
businesses.
bars.
okay,
And food service.
okay. And what were some of the ideas? That he had in promoting his store, promoting what he sold.
One of his favorite mediums was the Kenosha News, and
Kenosha
advertising.
Kernels.
Specifically.
Always, advertising comes at a cost, and you would see big ads. But my dad favored the small Kenosha kernels. It might have been a 1-inch by 2-inch square in the daily paper, and he would promote all these great prices and so forth, and people would, just come in to see what was on sale today or this week, or unbelievable low prices. We also used radio spots, and for example, one radio announcer, Lenny Palmer, was a regular customer, and his family had a grocery and meat shop within 4 or 5 blocks. He knew our family, he knew our products, he loved to talk about what he would do with the things that he picked up today on special at the model market.
Distressed goods.
What are those?
He developed a relationship with the local super value distributor. Distribution center, where they would provide groceries to all of the Midwest, and there would be distressed goods that they could not offer to the local stores. There might be a broken pallet where a case or two was rejected because it was damaged. And so he would buy this pallet full of food that couldn't be sold to the super value stores, and deliver that. He got it for a discount because otherwise it would be rejected and thrown out. So he could buy that for pennies on the dollar and offer that to the community that could use it the best. And so he had a broad range of products that he could repackage and.
But there was nothing
sell for
wrong
cheap.
with these products.
Correct. So,
Very good.
as an example, a case of tomato sauce, right? One jar breaks, the whole case can't be sold, right? Because it had tomato sauce on it. So 99% of that case was still fine. So he would get it at pennies on the dollar. He had us clean it up, and then we could sell it, repackage it, and sell it.
Assort, assemble.
So one of the things that an ingenuitive way of distributing this would be food boxes, or they came in banana boxes. We sold them in, and I was actually part of that. One of my jobs was to make sure that each one of these banana boxes had, 6 or 8 canned goods, and through 2 or 3 of something else. And there was always hygiene products, whether it was toothpaste or soap or shampoo, a box of Kleenex, a roll of tissue. Yeah, I can say a thing of toilet paper.
What year might that have been?
Approximately 86, 87. In fact, it was there was a Kenosha News article about that. And so where there might be $30, $40 worth of product in this box, and we sold them for $6, $7.
$6.90 for a 40-pound banana box of assorted grocery or household items.
And so not only was it a business decision, but also by that era, the Columbus Park neighborhood was kind of on a little downward slide.
American Motors
was closing, and a lot of people were out of work. The low-income section of Kenosha was in desperate need, and he really went out of his way to cater to the people that needed the help the most. And that was one of the many ways that he was very, very generous in the community.
Always expanding on the credo where the dollar buys more.
Okay.
Always giving value to the customer.
Right. Was there a time when, and I assume there was always this in certain economic times, when credit might be extended or some other way to help people at a time when they didn't have money?
Go ahead, John.
So definitely. And I remember vividly as a young man that there's great big boxes of all these receipt books, and with just the last name, just a person's name on it. And when, again, economic times or in going back to the Great Depression, I have some more stories on that, sure. Where people couldn't afford food. That's one of the really main things that a person needs. And our father made sure that always happened. Whether it was extending credit to someone who just couldn't afford it but still needed to feed their family, or it was someone coming in and begging, is there any work to be done? I need to feed my family. And whether it was, here, I'll give you, $30, $50, in store credit, go clean the parking lot, go pick up the garbage in the parking lot, or do this odd job, or paint this wall, or whatever it was. My father always made sure people were fed. A side note on the store credit, right out of high school, or right after high school, I could see that the store was only so big, and there was a lot of us. I could see the writing on the wall that there wasn't going to be room for me at the store, because again, there's so many hands that needed to be supported. So I went into the fire service, and as a young firefighter, paramedic,
Kenosha Fire,
helping people, and on their worst days, they're literally having a heart attack, and they would look right in my face and just stop, grab my hand, and say, "You're Adele Frate, aren't you?" And I have no name tag, no identification, and they were compelled to tell stories about our family and the model market, saying that there was zero chance that they would have survived the Great Depression or other economic struggles if it wasn't for the credit that was extended to their family, knowing that there was no chance, or a very slim chance, they were ever going to be able to pay it back. So the impression that I got very early on is that our father was a really good man, and he set forth a path that we needed to follow, and community service and doing the right thing at the right time for the right reasons.
And Tony, what did you find when you took over the business in 1999?
Well, my dad said to me one day, "Are you ready to take over?" And as I said, I was, since the age of 5, I joined the Marine Corps to get out of the family business. Well, actually, I wanted to go to school, and I couldn't see going to work part-time. It was not a part-time job. I couldn't say I'm leaving at 11, or I gotta, can't come in till 11, or gotta leave at 2. I joined the service, and when I came back, is when we broke ground and went into the wholesale and the additions and so forth. All I did was, when I would ask my dad a question, a business question or situation or dilemma, and he would just say, "Just keep working. Just go forward, keep working. Things will, iron themselves out." We had so many different things going. I didn't know what to expect. I immediately said yes, and then, "But Dad, what are you going to do? Are you okay?" He says, "Well, I'm going to be 65. I'm going to collect Social Security and retire," which he never did. And once again, just every day there was challenges. Running a business, customers, suppliers, taxes, city regulate. They're just running a business. You just kept your nose to the grindstone and kept going. In terms of the credit that had been extended, my dad couldn't say no. If somebody needed something, Ronnie, can you help me? Couldn't say no. Sometimes I would have to say, "Hold on, Dad, you're making me the bad guy. I got to go ask for money. I got to, somebody wants an order," and this is more or less with wholesale and so forth. And we'd been
Stiffed.
The people that we were an unsecured creditor. You buy a car, you don't pay, they're to take it away. If you bring them food, they use it up, there's nothing to get back. And we weren't secured. We didn't have a lien on properties, maybe not even a personal guarantee. And when someone would go bankrupt, and it could be tens of thousands of dollars, and you can't call them, you can't collect from them, and you get last in line, you might get pennies on the dollar, if anything at all. And our profit margin was so low that, for example, we worked on a 10% markup. If we lost $100, you'd have to sell 1,000 to make it up. You lost $10,000, you have to sell $100,000 to get even with that. So, in spite of that, we still survived. We kept working.
Did you find any outstanding credit when you took over?
What I inherited, or what I assumed when I took over the business, was the assets and liabilities. And the credit system that was referred to, a ledger, a book, there was a little library, a little 3x5 card box that people would come in and they'd say, "Oh, put it on my bill," and hopefully they'd come in on payday and pay it off and so forth. And a number of those went unpaid, and it was just absorbed. And you learned a lot. You learn to let a lot of stuff go.
But that just speaks to your dad and the way
Yes,
he did
yes.
business with and for the community.
Right. Someone needed it more than you, or you're okay. You're doing okay.
You've never gone without a meal.
Correct.
That was a direct quote from my father to me.
Yep.
Quit complaining. They have it. These other people that the
Less
conversation
fortunate.
was about, they have it much worse than you. You've never missed a meal. Stop complaining.
Okay. So in 2006, when the Frate family left the grocery business and Model Market was then operated under that name by others for a while, what would you say is the legacy of model market during the time your family was involved with
Community.
business?
Sorry. Community. Take care of the community.
Well, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.